seen. She has some basic derech eretz. What? That she doesn't order the police to go out and arrest Navot, shoot him for treason, shoot him for saying no to the king, because that won't work. Because even, notwithstanding the fact that Israel is suffering from a lot of idolatry, you just can't kick someone off out of his field. We asked, does the king have rights to take away? Wasn't it told by Mishpatei HaMelucha, the laws of the kingdom by Shmuel? So we saw several answers. The Radak, Rambam, Tosfot in Sanhedrin. Only if it's an emergency need, only if he's a national king of Judah and Israel. But here it's a private need. The home that Ahav owns here is not as a king, but as a private person. So when he goes back home to the kingdom in the Shomron, and he doesn't eat, and he's lying on his bed, and he's suffering from inactivity, he's basically showing us this is the beginning of the end. He can't really function. But who doesn't accept it? Who doesn't accept that he can't function as a king, his wife? This is what a kingdom is about. She has the arrogance, the haughtiness to say what she says to him. I'll show you what it is. Because she comes from a place where the law is held up by the king. And fear and arrogance can be used against anyone and everyone at any time. And whatever the king says should go. Just like she did regarding the what? The prophets, exactly. So she stages an act. She sends in public decrees, because here we're talking about a VIP of the city. Navot is not just any one person, he's well known. It's from the tribe of Menachem, I'm not sure, it could be, but the Tanakh doesn't bother telling us. But he's apparently a known person, and therefore she has to put on a big stage. A decree is made. There's going to be a trial against Navot. The billboards are probably plastered with the announcement. They're decreeing a fast day. This is terrible. What did he do? And then she publicizes, he cursed the king and he cursed God. Wow. Izebel is what? Defending the honor of God. What baloney, what honor of God? She went up against the honor of God. She killed prophets of God.
People know this already.
People know that she's out against the prophets of God. But look,
people don't forget there wasn't social media news in those days.
They're not living that manner.
But it happened a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
No, but here it's written on the billboards, 2 witnesses will be coming to court. Of course, the Tanakh tells us 2 evil witnesses, 2 liars. Belial is a play on the word. Belial, without a yoke. Okay? She's writing that they're going to be kosher witnesses coming to the court, and eventually is going to be issued a death penalty and stoned for going up against. Now,
Why does it sound like Bibi?
What do you mean?
Like what they're doing to Bibi?
Okay, terrible. So we have current events as well here. It's a very important point to mention here that one of the Rishonim says that the reason he wanted to grab the vineyard is to portray a type of idolatry there, a type of avodah zarah. In other words, he's consistent to activities he's been doing elsewhere with his wife. And of course, there's no right that a king has to take someone's property there in order to publicize idolatry in the world. The situation happened, let's read it. Pasuk Yud Aleph, the plan goes ahead. Verse 11 of chapter 21 of the book of Kings 1. Vayasu anshe iras kenim v'chorim. They do exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're going to make a public deal, a public court case. Asher yoshvim be'iro. These are the elders that sit in the city of this notable citizen, Navota Yisraeli. Kasher shachal Izebel. They're doing exactly as Izebel requested to do. Kasher katuv b'sfarim, exactly what's inscribed inside the decrees that are sent out. Asher shachaleim. Karutzam, indeed, they called for a public fast day. It's like a day of tshuva. Wow, a terrible felony was done against God, against the king of Israel. Voshivu et navot berosh ha'am. The term berosh ha'am is probably here the Sanhedrin, the high court that can also deal with capital punishment here in the city.
Wait, so each city had their own high
Each
court?
city, yeah, as the Torah says in the book of Dvarim, quote, chapter 14, if I'm not mistaken, or 16, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol sha'arecha. Every gate, every city has to have their own court system. So we don't want to trouble people to travel to another place. Exactly.
After next to the gate.
Right, at the entrance to the city, so we show justice. And here, we're showing lies, unfortunately. Verse 13, who appears at the court case? Vayavo shnei anashim b'nei Viliya'al. They come, they appear. Vayeshvu negdo. They're sitting opposite the person being prosecuted. That's Navot. Interesting that they're sitting. Why does it say they're sitting or they're just taking their place? Because you may know that testimony is only issued standing up. As it says, Apishnei edim yakum davar. And they learn that, it says V'amdu shnei anashim. There's another pasuk that talks literally that testimony has to be offered standing up. I don't know if this is a clear opposition to it, or maybe they found their place, and now vayi'idu, they are testifying, but they're liars. Anshe Blial at Navot neged ha'am lemor, against the nation, saying that he'd committed the following crime: Beirach Navot Elohim. They're talking a euphemism. Vamelach, a crime against God, and a blasphemy, a crime against the king. So there's something to say right here before he's put to death. This court case of Navot, in Izevel's mind, and probably in her husband's mind, Ahav, is not really a far-fetched invention. Rav Yigal Ariel from the Golan, he says in his Sefer here, because their understanding of what a kingdom is supposed to be is everyone must listen. Everyone must pay attention to the kingdom. And therefore, if anyone goes up against, for whatever reason, has to be total obedience. Then, if anyone goes up, that's the act of treason. That's the act of treason. And the claim that's made here in these former verses, Beirach Elohim v'melech, of course we know is a Tanat Sheker, but they can't really say what they want to say. What Izevel here is doing is taking someone who's a honorary citizen of the town of the Jezreel Valley, apparently, and what is she trying to do? To lower his image. He has a good image. He's considered trustworthy. He's considered God-fearing. And right now, she wants to hurt his image of Navot. Okay? Not only is he not faithful to who? To the kingdom, but you thought he was a God-fearing person. You thought he was a tzaddik. He's not a tzaddik. 2 witnesses say that he talked bad against God. So she knows the laws of the Torah. She knows that a case may be established based upon 2 witnesses. Apishnayim edim yakum davar. Taking advantage of the laws of the Torah in order to knock down Navot. So here she's doing it. She's an amazing movie producer. She's staging this act of tzom and a fast day and a court case. And she's using, of course, all the means that the Torah allows you to use. A Sanhedrin, 2 witnesses, as if there's justice that's going to happen here. But of course, the judges, what do they know? Do they know the truth? But what does the Torah say? The truth is according to 2 witnesses. So she's undermining what? Undermining the court, undermining the Sanhedrin, the Dayanim that are sitting there. And she's so cynical. And let's see how cynical she is as we read the verdict. Vayotziu michutz le'ir. He's taken outside the city. Vayiskilu bavanim vayamot. He's stoned. And now notice, please, which word appears and appears and appears in this and the upcoming psukim. Vayamot, and he died. Vayishlechu el Izevel lemor. A message is sent to the Shomrot. She's not there. She's in the palace. She's tens of kilometers away. The message is sent saying what? Sukal Navot Vayamot. Navot was stoned, and which word appears? And he died. The next pasuk, verse 15. Vayikesh Shema Izev, when she hears the verdict and what happened, verse 15, Tedvav, Ki Sukal Navot Vayamot, that he was stoned and he died. Vatomer Izevel Ahav, Kum, get up. Reish, inherit. Et Kerem Navot Yisraeli. Why? This is the guy that what? Asher me'ein lateit lecha v'chesef. He's the guy that refused to pay you money. Ki ein navot chai, ki meit. Wow, what cynical happiness. Okay? He's no longer alive, he's dead. And a fifth time. Okay, I'm counting how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times with the next pasuk in verse 16. Vayikishmo Ahav ki meit navot. You cannot but not see this. The word mate, he died, he died, he died. Why? And now Ahav is going to get up, travel to the town, and now assert his authority, take the property away and say, this vineyard belongs to me. What we see here, some of the commentators explain, what cynical happiness she has. 5 times the Tanakh repeats the death of Navot. It's emphasized and emphasized. She got what she wanted. She's thirsty for the death of this person. Why? Because he said no to Ahav, to my husband. Okay? And she's happy to get revenge. He's not alive, he's dead. Ki einu chai hu meit. Okay? So we see what a terrible person she is. What a witch, if you wanted to call her. Now, great social injustice has been made. The court has been lied to. All this was staged. And Ahav goes down to the Jezreel Valley. He now has a lovely vineyard next to his house there. Private house, not a king's house. He wants to turn it into a vegetable garden. See something very nice and green that he can use when he walks out of his house. And that's his plan. I don't know if he's called the gardeners yet to uproot the vineyards. But we can ask the following question. If I ask you, would you please take this money and, the opposite. Would you please take my car and drive to the house of that person, open up his door. On the right-hand side of his cupboard, he has a gigantic wallet with thousands of shekels. Would you please go bring it to me? Sounds like a violation of theft. But I asked you to be my shaliach. Can you be my messenger? Well, let's say you do go ahead and you steal the money as a shlichut, a mission for me. Is it my transgression? Or is it your aveira? Is it your transgression? Beautiful. The Talmud says, Ein shaliach lidvar aveira. You can't be a messenger for me to do a violation of the Torah. Why not? Because he told you not to do a violation. I tell you to do a violation, and God tells you not to do. Who do you listen to? You don't listen to, but Hashem. What about the shaliach of Izevel and Ahav? Okay? Do we say that a regular person shaliach lidvar avera, and if you do it, it's your sin, not mine? Do we say that too as well regarding a king like Ahav and Izevel? Or do we say that a melech, a king, that sends his servants, anyone is a servant in the country, to do a what? A transgression, then always and always will the king be violating this matter. In other words, the king can say, well, you shouldn't have done it. You did it. I told you to do it. Maybe in the case of a king, he is responsible. Why? He has the widest responsibility in the country. So maybe the din of Ahav would be that you can't what? Give any subject in the country to do an Averah, because if he does it, the king should be responsible. That's the question that we're asking here. Furthermore, did the king put him to death? It's more complicated here. Who put him to death? The court did. The Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin put him to death. How does this appear in Hashem's eye? Can he clean his hands with soap and say, well, I didn't do it. You did it. The court did it. Or do we say the king has full responsibility in every case? Whatever he does, he has full responsibility.
Can't you say both? The king has most of the people who do it.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it's like saying Machon Meir in Germany didn't have any responsibility. Did he kill anybody? No.
So you're saying?
It's like Eichmann did. But we put him on trial.
That's right. See, what do you want to say?
So what I want to say is that the person who commands also has responsibility.
Absolutely.
The person who does.
Especially if we're talking about a high-ranking position. A high-ranking position can... The king won the war, even though the soldiers fought. The Ramatkal won the war, even though he was only giving the orders. Right? He is the highest position. We're now going to read how Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet, is called back into the job to pronounce the continuation of the decline, the fall of Ahav. Okay? Because here, what does Ahav do after he hears about the death of Navot? Does he ask a question? Maybe I shouldn't go ahead and take up the land. Maybe it's the wrong thing to do. Does he have any doubts? Does he raise any questions? What does he do? He leaves the palace in the Shomron, goes down into the Jezreel Valley, and quickly he's revealing, I agree with what my wife did. I agree. Why? I'm now taking over the land. I'm saying basically, I agree to the sin. In other words, in a very deep way, like you're saying, I am involved. I'm involved. I agree with this tactic. And this tactic, of course, is terrible, evil, cruelty, social injustice. But the fact that he's going down there, taking the land, he's saying, I'm really responsible. He's making a tremendous mistake. That's what we see here. That's what the commentators explain. Furthermore, Pasuk Yud Zayin, verse 7, Vayihi devar Adonai el Eliyahu hatishbi leimor. Okay, here we have the prophecy of God to Eliyahu, and now we're going to read it. The destruction of the kingdom of Ahav. The destruction of the kingdom of Ahav. Okay? It says here, Pasuk Yud Zayin, verse 17, Vayidvar Adonai Eliyahu tishbi leimor, kum, get up Eliyahu, raid לקראת Ahav. אני מבקש רק סליחה, תודה רבה. קום raid לקראת Ahav מלך ישראל, אשר בשומרון, הנה בחרם נבות אשר ירד שם לרשתו. Interesting raid. Apparently Eliyahu is somewhere in the mountain area, and he's now asked to go down to the Jezreel Valley, which is flat in the valley, and go towards Ahav. But interesting, go to Ahav, who's the king of Israel, where? In the Shomron. But where is he? He's in Kerem Navot. What did he do there? And you're going to tell him the following message, verse 19, one of the famous quotes in the Tanakh. V'dibarta elav lemor. Tell him the following. Ko amar Hashem, this is what God says. Haratzachta v'gam yarashta. Do you hear a paradox? Do you hear a contradiction? The Rav couldn't make it. He was ill. He became ill. I'm sorry. Haratzachta v'gam yarashta. Do you hear a paradox here, a contradiction here? Ritzicha is one act. Yerusha belongs to who? Family. Family, those that are inheriting a matter. You're acting on the one hand as a murderer, meaning you're the enemy of Navot, as the Mitzudat of it explains here. And you're also acting as a lover. You are inheriting his property. You're acting like a brother, an uncle, someone that's in the line of inheritance. You can't be wearing both hats. The hat of a murderer, meaning you're an enemy of him, and the hat of a yoresh, an inheritor, which is a lover, a family member. Haratzachta, do you see the capital A in the question, the wonder? Haratzachta, can you be a murderer of Agam Yarashta and become a lover? How do you do such a thing? Go tell him that. Social injustice. V'dibartai lav le'mor. Tell him the upcoming verdict. Ko amar Hashem. B'makom asher lakaku ha'kelavim et dam navot. Yaloku ha'kelavim et damcha gam ata. Wow. You're going to be disrespected. You're going to die. And the same place where Navot, his blood was licked up by the dogs, so too, there the dogs will lick up your blood. Here, in this matter, we understand two things. Number one, your kingdom is going to come to an ending. And number two, you're not going to have a regular burial. Then the dogs are going to lick you up. They're going to take care of you. So here we hear something very severe. If you think we're talking metaphorically, you're welcome to search Perikav Bet, the last chapter of Melachim Aleph, and Pasuk Lamed Chet. I think so. Let me just see if that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Verse 38 of the next chapter. Vayishtof et harechev al brechat Shomron. The chariot of the king is rinsed, washed in the pool area of the Shomron, and then vayaloku ha'klavim et damo. The dogs are licking up his blood. So we see exactly like Elijah the prophet told us that his kingdom will come to an end, and something very vulgar will be done to him. His blood being licked up, it will not be brought to burial. Now, gentlemen, this is exactly apparently what he says. What does Ahav respond? Verse 20. Ahav says, Vayomer Ahav el Eliyahu, Hamitzaotani, is that the word? Hamitzaotani? Hamitzaatni. I thought it was a dot somewhere else. Thank you. Hamitzaatani oivi? He's asking him. What kind of question is he asking him? Hamitzaatani oivi? Do you think what? You're considering me. You think I'm the enemy? What do you think? I'm obligated in this matter? Meaning, I didn't do this. Who did it? My wife did. The typical blame it on the wife. In other words, right now, Ahav thinks he can deny a claim made by the prophet. Here, apparently in the middle of the message of judgment, punishment to Ahav, Ahav stops, interrupts Eliyahu Navi in the middle of his prophecy and is trying to deny. I don't deserve this. Hamitzadni oivi? Yeah, I didn't do this. You know who plotted against Mr. Navot? It wasn't me. It was my wife. She did it without my knowledge. Okay? In other words, he has audacity, doesn't he? What we commonly call chutzpah. He has the audacity to try to cover up. He knew exactly what his wife is doing. He showed that he knew what his wife is doing. He went ahead and assumed the ownership of the property. Okay? So Mr. Ahav is trampling on the basic rights of any norms of any society, justice, to say the truth, not to lie. He's committing everything written in the book, isn't he? Vayomer, Eliyahu responds right away, Matzati, I found you guilty. Okay? I found you guilty in this matter. I know that you're collaborating. Yanit makircha lasot hara b'nei Adonai. I want to explain what this means. Can we or should we assume that Ahav speaks the truth? What kind of valuable or corrupt life does he live? He's been getting God angry all the time. Avodah Zarah everywhere. Free rights for all people. He covers up for his wife that wants to kill the prophets of God. So when Eliyahu Navi wants to shut him up and say, you know what you did? You've sold yourself. You're so used to injustice. You're so used to getting God angry. Rashi says, Lachis et borecha. You're so used. Your word is not a word. I don't believe you. You're a liar. And you don't deserve anything better than this. And therefore, in the punishment that he's told him, there's two things involved. Aleph, no burial. Blood will be licked up by dogs. And number two, have anyone ever call you a dog? A dog is like the most humiliating word or derogatory term someone can call someone. You're a dog. Okay? Not Lassie. Lassie's a good guy. Okay? We're talking. Tell him Lassie's okay. Lassie's okay? We're talking about a dog. There's nothing more despicable. There's nothing more humiliating. God's plan through Elijah, through Elijah the prophet, to tell Ahav, you deserve no burial and you deserve humiliation. That's what he's telling him. And now Eliyahu completes the prophecy, verse 21. Evil is going to come to you. I'm going to devour. In other words, I'm going to turn to you and make sure no one will be left over. Who will I destroy for the family of Ahav? Mashtin bakir, every boy that urinates. V'atzur, v'azuv, b'Yisrael. The term atzur, v'azuv, b'Yisrael is also whatever wealth is collected or whatever animals, properties like mikneh that are left in your fields, all of that will be destroyed. Your wealth will go to Timon, will go down the drain. Pasuk Kavbet, v'natati et beitcha keveit Yoravam ben Nevat, cheveit Baasha ben Achia. Two great houses of kings and their children that sinned against Israel, that sinned against God. What happened to them? They were destroyed. That's what's going to happen to you. Like the families of Yoravam and the families of Baasha. Why? Elakas asher ichasta v'tachti et Yisrael. There's one level of a person not doing what Hashem says to do, but going up against Hashem actively, wantingly, causing the spreading out of idolatry, causing injustice in the country, committing capital crimes. You not only sinned, you caused others to sin. You provided them with idolatry, avodah zarah. That's what it means, vatachti. You caused others to sin. Not only you. Pasuk Kav Gimel, verse 23. V'gam li'Izevel diber Hashem le'mor. Eliyahu has a message to deliver to Izevel. What's going to happen to her? She's a dog herself. Haklavim yochlu et Izevel bechel Yisrael. In the valley of Yisrael, the dogs will eat her up. So, this decree of the death, of the humiliation of both the husband and wife, is what's coming to them. It's like a midah keneged midah. They act in such a humiliating way, they're going to be humiliated as well. And of course, it may reflect also I think it's the Malbim, that what we're talking here about the former concept, Atzur ve'azuv b'Yisrael. Chazal say, Atzur, you'll be stopped in this world. Ve'azuv, you'll be left from the world to come. And that's what the Mishnah says in Masechet Sanhedrin, that Ahav ein lo chelek le'olam haba. One of the most terrible kings has no portion to the world to come. So maybe that's the source here that's hinted to this matter. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem, in our next year we will complete the chapter and begin, God willing, the last chapter. And if everything will be okay, God willing, Yom Rishon, Yom Shini, no, probably Shlishi, we'll make a siyum, God willing. Well, it's a very long chapter, 54 psukim. Maybe we'll see. B'ezrat Hashem.